Okay, we are finally back on live. Whew. We're going to have some storms roll over later tonight, but right now it's okay here in Lower Alabama. But it's one of those nights where, oh boy, am I feeling it, boy. I mean, everything's creaking and popping. And we're doing a bunch of remodel at home. So it's kind of, I've been busy the last week and a half. Tearing out sinks in the kitchen, completely redoing the plumbing, all new drain, all new water coming in, just one thing after the other. It's been busy. Good evening, Gordon. How you doing? Oh boy. Observation Post Charlie. Good evening. Yeah, the Tiny Titan. Good evening. Earl, hello. Glad to do it. So you guys up in New England and all, y'all are going to be getting a pretty good storm front rolling over. We're just getting the tail dragging across Alabama, but y'all are supposed to get that big main thrust going through there pretty soon. Bob, good evening. CJ, hello. Tony, good evening. Jared Oliver, hello. Whew. So what's everybody want to talk about tonight? What's your questions? Throw them at me. Let's have it. Ronald, good evening. Hope things are going well in Mississippi. I know y'all got the showers and stuff going over you now. At least the bands I was seeing are like in edge of Mississippi starting to get to the edge of Alabama, but we'll see if they get there later tonight. Probably about 2 a.m. is when they're supposed to get to me. Farm Boy, good evening to Wisconsin. Hiram, good evening. Demon Killer, hello to Pennsylvania. Jared, preferred fish hook size. Woo, that's a good one now. And to be honest with you, I'm a redneck. I just pick up the size, but I think it's a number 8. That small shank number 8 is my usual go-to for brim and young bass and stuff like that. It's small enough you can just about completely cover it when you're putting live bait on it. And of course, the long shank cricket hooks is what you're going to be using for crickets. I prefer only to use them with crickets, grubs, or some little piece of meat or something like that. And believe it or not, macaroni works. I have caught fish on the small macaroni before, but usually about an 8 is what I normally grab. Now, if I'm going for bass, of course, I'll get a bigger hook. But most of the small bass, hand-sized bass, things like normally about a number 8 is sufficient to take care of it. Have I ever used an Afghan pressure cooker? I have been there when it was used at a couple of events. I saw it, and I know my good friend that Dan Lutz had got one, but I have not personally had one. But they look to be very effective. There's something in your soul, though, that says sealing this thing up, putting it on a fire, it should steam explode. But, they do seem to work fairly well. Briar smoke, long winter. It's basically spring down here now. It's in the 70s during the day. Everything's turned green. All the trees are budding out. My fig trees got 2-inch leaves on it. I wish I had set up to have my event this week. The weather was perfect. You had a couple of cool nights, not any rain to speak of. If I had started last week and come to this week, it'd have been absolutely perfect. Now the front's going to pass us and the temperature's going to drop back in the 50s and 30s at night. But right now last couple of nights, been nights in the 50s and 60s and days in the 70s pushing 80. Demon Killer, you in Maine? No, I'm actually in Alabama, if you're pointing that to me. Tony York, hi there. I know a lot of you guys up north get tired of winter, and I fully understand. I feel it. That's how we Southerners get tired of summer, because it's 7-8 months of heat, and we just get so sick of the heat, and we're ready for cool. Man, I want cold. I want to see some cold. because you're just so tired of the heat. And you guys up north, especially when you get up, above Kentucky and etc., all them upper tier states, y'all have such a long winter. I mean, y'all are just sick of the cold and ice and snow and sleet, and you're ready for grass and heat and dry air. I fully understand. James, good evening, South Carolina. Briar, I hear you. I'm planning on hammock camping at my event, which is in just about 4 weeks. And next week will be 4 weeks. And I'm going to camp the whole time in my hammock. The hot tent will become Miss Blackie's tent. And I'll set up my big, huge tarp that I had for my one-room hammock that already had the tie-outs to make it like a little wall tent, but it's not got a stove jack in it. It's just a regular seal-up. But love hammock camping. Once I get into that first night, it's a little awkward. After that, man, I'm gone. Love hammock camping. Tony York, awesome. Go get it ready. Yeah, bro, that Sierra Nevadas, you're too high up. And them cold fronts keep rolling in. And the further west you go, that's more that rolling down from up, Arctic cold. And it just don't seem to warm up nearly as fast out there. Good evening, Mr. John Kennedy. Glad to see you. Well, congratulations, Tony. That I hope that works out well for you. Putting your cabin in on it. How big's your cabin? My granddaddy raised 8 kids in a 24-foot by 24-foot cabin. That's wall size, 24 feet. It was a square with a pitch roof on it, a back porch, and a front porch. Had 8 kids in that place. It had to be a job. Sportsman 83, come up to Cleveland and Helen, Georgia. Do some trap fishing, hiking in the Chattahoochee National Forest. I'd like to do that. I camped out at Unicoi for Southeastern back in 85, I think it was, maybe 84. We did a week-long event up there and used to walk the trail that connects from Unicoi over to Helen to get supplies and stuff. Beautiful country up there. Really is. 12 by 24. Good size, Tony. John, ready for the gathering? Been thinking and rethinking my camp setup. I hear you. I have set up and tore down a dozen times already. I'm going to set this hope up this way. And if I can get my trees to line up just right where I'm thinking of setting up, I'm going to have her on this side and we're going to use the same central tree. So she'll have the hot tent going that way and she'll come in, but my hammock's going here, her hammock's going here, and you come in and go in that way, and we can close in the ends and have like a Quonset hut going either way. That should be pretty cool. Edward, don't worry. So far I'm putting one on every year as long as I can. Sportsman Unicoi is awesome. We do that trail every time. I really enjoyed the camp out there. And, we're talking about a couple of thousand, I think it was like 6,000, 7,000 people camping out for that Living History event for a week. And so the Chattahoochee River starts in Unicoi. And they used to have that big old boulder and water comes out from under it. And they got a bronze plaque on the boulder. So this is the birth of the Chattahoochee River. And that becomes the boundary between Alabama and Georgia. Later on, which Chattahoochee translates from the native dialect of Chattah, means rock. Hoochie means river. So Chattahoochee, rock river. And if you've ever canoed it, you'll know why. There's boulders, shoulders everywhere. It's hard to go up and down that river at any kind of low water and not just be ricocheting off rocks. Good evening to Garen. John, you're probably going to, I'm betting as warm as it's being right now, dude, it's going to be the warm. I had mosquitoes today on my porch in February. The middle of February, I had mosquitoes that have hatched out already. That scares me to the core, you know. And well, yeah, that first 4 weeks is normally just a nightmare. But if they're starting, we're about to cool back off and go back into the 30s. The next several days, I'm hoping it'll kind of dampen them back down. Forrest Witch, good evening. Miss Pam's in the house. Hello there. Oh, yeah. Eric, Chattahoochee meant big money. Correct. That is a very colorful story of all of that as well. But we have Chattahoochee down here. Hatchie means creek. Hoochie means river. So Chattahoochee is rock, river. Chattahoochee is Choctaw Creek, is what it really translates to. So, Edgar, yeah, a lot of things over. You said you spent some of your childhood at the Podre River, which is Spanish for powder, but everyone pronounced it Pooter River. Never liked the name. We have Pea River, PEA, like eating peas, here where I'm at. And it was because the name meant wild peas. These wild peas used to grow up and down that river at the time of settlement. And of course, they harvested and got rid of all of them. But that was what the name was Pea River. But of course, everybody thought it referred to something else. So, you know, got to have a name. Pam, we may need them. When I make my Pam, I'll make the announcement like a week out. I'll go down there and see how the skeeters are. And if the skeeters have hatched out and are going to be a problem, I'll tell everybody to bring bug nets and bring bug spray and etc. I hope we ain't gonna need that. There'll be no more than just a minor nuisance. But if there is a problem, I'll let everybody know ahead of time and warn everybody. Good evening, Justin. Terry, I hear y'all supposed to get pretty good rain and snow. That stuff dragging across y'all right now. Good evening, Bear. Bear's old way is in the house. Me and Mr. Bear went out and shot a video to go on to his channel. And so he will be posting one onto his channel between now and next week. So just kind of check out Bear's channel. There is a fresh piece of video coming out. Garen, have lots of citronella. It can work. It can help. It ain't a guarantee. I tell people, if you're going to be out there a lot and you're one of them, just draw them. Let me explain a little bit of how this insect works. They're drawn to us by our breath, the waste gas of our breath. So when you exhale and that floats downwind, it's kind of like a blood trail for a shark. And mosquitoes only fly about 8 feet off the ground, up to 8 feet. Above that, they don't. So you can look at a lot of the old southern houses from way back when, and they had this flat porch up on top of the front porch, like a balcony. Well, that was the summertime sleeping porch where they'd pull the beds out there and sleep out there. Well, it's above 10 feet off the ground, and mosquitoes wouldn't be up there. See? So they were too high, and it was cooler. You get a little breeze up there. And so those were sleeping porches. But the mosquito is attracted to us by our breath, and it comes up, and then it gets up there, and it gets around the face, the ears, whatever, or softer tissue, and it does that, and that's the female, and she's smelling your blood. She's smelling your odor, and she's looking for a good pH. If your pH is too high or too low, she will not bite you because you're toxic. She's going to draw that blood into her, and that's what she's going to incubate her babies in till she deposits them in water. And if you're too high or too low, you're toxic to her babies, and she won't bite you. And so that's what the spray you're putting on is. It's trying to alter your scent to confuse her. But if you'll simply take vitamin B, like my wife is one that can pull them out of Texas, boy. If she's going to be out there for the week, we're going to have it. She's going to start the week before, start popping 2 of them suckers a day. You don't smell or taste any different, but it will change your pH a little bit and make insects less likely to bite you. You can't stop them coming to you because they're going to smell your breath. But once they get there, you'll get less bites. And then someone like me, who's a hypoglycemic, plus got all kinds of pH all over the place, I rarely get a lot of bites. Yeah, I really don't. And it's because I smell toxic to them. At the same time, my wife sitting right next to me has a cloud around her, and so she has good pH. So we have to get her to take some vitamin B, start taking 2 pills a day, like a week out, to kind of make it where they're not going to bite her so much. Tony, camp in the cedar. When we got cedars down here in my neck of the woods, most time when you got a bunch of cedars, you're in a swamp. Edgar, that's pretty good. $14 for 357. Winchester went to making steel cases not long ago, because I remember we could get 9mm steel cased from Winchester. So anything goes. Good evening. Jeff, yeah, Karen, I normally coat my hammocks and a lot of my gear, my packs and stuff with it. And I need to do that now. I need to go ahead and do my treatment. I do a once a year treatment at the beginning of the season, where I'll go get some cans of it and I'll spray down all my gear, put it out in the sun, let it dry, etc., just to help that, just to keep them off of us. Jared Oliver, I have tried some of that fly dope and it does work. There used to be a company that sold fly dope for fly fishermen because it would be standing there, and you can't be doing this a lot when a fly rot in your hand. And so there was a stuff called I think I want Skeeter E, Skeeter Dawn, Skeeter something like that. Skeeter was one of the names of it. And it was a yellowish dope in a tube. You'd squeeze out a little bit and smear it and you'd put it and stuff. And it did a great job. I'm sure it had a lot of DEET in it, but it did a great job at cutting them off of you. Pam, either way, high or low is fine. It's just that good central is what they're really looking for. So if it's too high or too low, either one. And what vitamin B does is it raises your pH up and makes it where you're just not appealing. Also goes for ticks, chiggers, any kind of bloodborne parasite or something. They don't like you, you're bitter. They don't want to bite you. Mark W. For mosquitoes, you might need a flamethrower. There's been times, dude. You hear the stories about lumberjacks and stuff in Canada going insane. There's been times I've been eat so much and you've done everything you can and they're just eating you alive that you just want to just scream. It just drives you nuts. Edgar, can I take a pill that will kill the baby mosquitoes after they eat my blood? There is such things, but you don't want to do it, and it's not a preventative. A good friend of mine he has a very bad medical condition, and he has to be on a lot of medications. I mean, a pile of them, and his blood is toxic. He has to carry a med alert to warn should he ever be taken in or whatever that his blood is toxic because of that. And we have sat there and watched a mosquito light on him and bite and die. The mosquito comes off just and be dead in under a minute. You just watch it sit there gasp. He's toxic, but you don't want to do that. There's all kinds of other side effects. Gordon, thank you for bringing that up. I received a comment saying that I'd won a giveaway. It was your username, but they told me to get on Telegram. I thought you would want to know. this happened Saturday. I put a thing out on that video saying there's a scam going on. A lot of channels are talking about this. Apparently, this is where we've been trying to get a hold of your car insurance. They're now doing this, and this is nefarious means of trying to get you. I don't do that kind of stuff. If I'm doing a giveaway, I'm doing a video to tell you. I will never just contact you and say, oh, jump onto Instagram. It's because I'm not on Instagram, and they probably went and put my username on Instagram because I'm not on Instagram. See, and it's that type of stuff. I had several people contact me, and I told every one of them, and I made posts on my stuff saying it's a scam. Never believe any of that stuff. If it's not me on video like this telling you, don't believe it. Don't get taken in by it. Garen, taking garlic tablets. Absolutely, that will help. It'll make you smell a little different, but it'll help. Justin, go ahead and bring some cedar from Texas. Chad, good evening. Jeff, no, the ticks are not bad down there. I have, I think, seen one or two, but it is not a bad tick area down there. They keep the grass cut, and I've already contacted the ranger. They'll come in and cut the grass for us like the week out. All the cans will be empty. All the stuff's cleaned up. Will be good. I'm going to be talking to a local purveyor down there of firewood. We'll probably have to haul it in if he can't deliver it. And but we will get some firewood in there that first night. But ticks aren't a problem down there. Charlton Bowles, I ran into you and a friend on the P River about 10 to 15 years ago. I think you were in a John boat and said you were going to the Chattahoochee. That was me and David Hobbs. Yeah, that was us. David was in the front fishing, and I was sculling and paddling in the back. We had the motor on the back. That was us. That was me and my blood brother David Hobbs. I know what you're talking about. Pyrethrin is great for bugs in your house. Natural and kills them dead. Here's something else I found for that, because we got pets. Take equal parts of powdered sugar and baking soda, like a pound and a pound, or whatever, 6 ounces and 6 ounces, whatever you're going to do. I put it in a great big gallon Ziploc bag together, zip it up tight, and then shake the stew out of it. And I take a paper plate and I put some on it and set it up under the sink or whatever for when ants and stuff come in, and it will kill them. All insects, hard insects like roaches, ants, etc., have a hard outer skeleton. They can't fart. So if they eat it, it forms gas and that pops them. So it'll kill roaches, etc. At the same time, mice, same thing. Mice can't pass gas. And so if mice eat it, it will kill them. At the same time, if a cat or dog licks it, it just makes him burp. Safe around kids, safe around them. That's what we use because we got cats and we got dogs. And just in case a cat got into a cabinet for something, I didn't want him to find any kind of poison. And it really does work to curb ants and stuff like that will come in, especially during the winter. Or the other things where you get them little field mice that come in, that will find a way in. It takes care of that problem. You'll find them dead. Takes care of it. And if it dies and the cat eats it, it's still not poisonous. Works great. Fernando, skin so soft, good for keeping away mosquitoes. Yes. In fact, the United States Marine Corps authorized their soldiers at Camp Lejeune, and I think Paris Island too, to use skin so soft because of the sand fleas up there. It was more effective than any of the military issue stuff. So yeah, I wish they'd take that and figure out what it is, the component that works so well, and just sell that. William Cruz, good evening. Dennis, take care of your possums and birds. I agree. Let them do what nature said. Joseph, hello to Columbus, Ohio. Eric, we're going next week. I will be announcing, because all of the Blackbird haversacks arrived to me yesterday, like at 10 a.m. And by 3 o'clock, I had got them all packaged and mailed out. So all those blackbirds are gone. And I've talked to Jay. Jay is making sure he's got all the supplies in-house, so there won't be another delay, and that can maybe cut our time down a little bit for the Nighthawks. And next week I'll be announcing, and I'll do a video, let everybody know that we're going to be doing a run of the Nighthawks. You can get a combo, which is a brand new Blackbird haversack and the Nighthawk. You still have to get your own straps, but that combination is $200. Or if you want just the Nighthawk by itself, because you already got a haversack, that's $160. And I'll be announcing that next week and taking the orders then. But yes, we will be doing it. Sage, didn't you buy a titanium cup? And if so, are you still liking it? Yes, I am. I have got it in fact, it's in my bug out bag in my car. It's that one with a little bail on it and butterfly handles, and it's got a little stove on it, and with a lid. And it was titanium, and I set it up as a little cook kit, and it's in my bug out bag in my truck. And yes, I do enjoy it. It works very well. In fact, I was doing, I took my car in for some maintenance, and they said it's going to be 3 or 4 hours. And I just pulled my bug out bag out of the truck and walked right out the back door into the little woods. Cause, you know, in Alabama, everywhere is woods unless it's a parking lot. And so I went over and found 2 shady trees, and I slung up a hammock and brought out my titanium cup, my little fuel tabs, and I heated me up something to sip on. And I'm kicked back sipping and, you know, reading a book while waiting on my truck to get worked on. It works very well. Oh yeah, Justin, my great grandpa could grasp wasp nests and squish them and never get stung. My dad got lit up. I watched my granddaddy do that, but he would make a big to do about taking his hand, sticking in his shirt, and rubbing his armpit first to get the sweat on his hand. And he'd reach up there and grab that whole wasp nest just covered in red wasps and just sit there and crush it and roll it up in his hand and crush every one of them and drop it on the ground and wouldn't get stung once. And he swore it was the smell of the armpit would tell him not to bite. I don't know, but I was never that brave. Edgar, you ever see or meet spooky people out in the woods? I have indeed. Being in the South, I have been camping in areas and people have come up the river, canoed in. I have people walking through the woods with headlights before. I've encountered more than one. That's the reason you carry something with you, and you make sure that when you holler hello, you're not where they expect you to be. And you listen and hear them coming. So pick out your place you won't be sitting. Tiny Titan, just had snow and I had a few house flies. Warm in the day, but freezing at night. Hope y'all warm up. Hope this changes it. I'm betting it's going to be a warm spring, early spring nationwide. I'm betting. We shall see. Jeff Conley, old timers used to rub tobacco on the skin to repel mosquitoes. They used to also put it in the cuffs or in their socks to keep ticks and stuff from coming up. I remember that. I can remember a uncle that they would chew tobacco and he would spit into the handkerchief until that handkerchief was wet with it, and then he'd roll it up and he'd tie it on top of his sock and then pull his sock up over it, and it would keep things from crawling up his legs, ticks and stuff. Nasty as all get out, but effective. Carlton, I thought it was. I remember y'all had a single shotgun with you, just about always. I also ran into you a time or two at Geneva State Forest. Yeah, I do a lot of going down there. Not as much as I did. I need to get off my tail and start going back down there. Yep, that was me. I had somebody, I was working at Walmart back in them days as well. That was my second job. I had retired as a district manager, and then I got bored and went to working at Walmart. And I worked 17 and a half years at Walmart because I needed chaos in my life, you know. And before I decided to start doing my videos. And I had somebody on one of my videos comment, say, "Dang, you look like this old guy at my local Walmart." And I said, "Well, that's me." And the guy finally came up and was standing around the corner. "Blackie?" I said, "Yes, sir, it's me." He couldn't believe that I was a real person. Yeah, I'm a real person. I'm the way I am right now. Like you see me on video, that's how I am in real life. I'm this way. I don't put on any airs. It's just me. Washburn Billy, 350, got 420 green tips. Sounds like a good deal. Garen, I have heard of that. There used to be a summer tonic that was green onion. Okay, hold on. New pine needles, green onion, garlic, rosemary, thyme, and I want to say a little bit of curry powder. And that would be chopped up and made into tea. You would actually put it in one of them tea balls or tea bags, which I remember handkerchiefs that had been sewed where you could put it into it, tie a knot, and drop it in the water. And that was bug tonic. I was never a big fan of it. It tasted nasty. But I knew a lot of guys, old guys, that use that type of stuff, trying to keep bugs and stuff off of them. Jared, glad you glad you stoked for it. We'll get them out as soon as possible. K-Town, just talking about spring bug ideas, how to avoid bugs and mosquitoes, stuff like that. Yeah, I agree with you, Washburn Billy. It is better to be quiet than to advertise what you have. When so many have not, they will remember those that have. Wise old man told me that one time. K-Town, he's got a new video that we shot today. It will be edited and published first of the week. Check this out. Have I ever tried the old World War II Korean War era field pack, the one with the E-tool and bayonet attachments, and you had to have longer shoulder straps to it? I actually did. I had a Korean issue version of it, that the ones that we made and then gave to the South Koreans and issued. And then later on, I got the nylon version. It was kind of based on the World War II Marine Corps pack combat 3-day supply packs, what they called it. I liked it, but it didn't have enough depth for me top to bottom. It was a little short. Great for a day pack, but it just didn't carry enough in my opinion. But worked really good. I ended up running those days a pair of butt packs. I had my utility belt, the suspenders H type. On the back center bottom was a standard canvas 1956 U.S. Army butt pack. Up on the top of the H, up here at the top, you had a pair of rings. That's where I would hook the top of the second butt pack to. And then in between that gap, you had the loops on the bottom of the butt pack. I would run it through the carry handle on the bottom butt pack, and that's where I'd stick my poncho roll, my whoopee or whatever, and tie that together. So I had a butt pack, my poncho roll, and another backpack. The whole thing was about that wide by about that tall by about that deep, and it was a nice streamline, stayed on you, and it would flow with you. That was my rig for swamp running for a long time because it was so flexible and easy to work with. Blakey, do you know of any wild plants that are good for small campfire burns on fingers? Something I can forage. Pine sap. Fresh pine sap. Scrape, come out toward the end of a limb. Scrape it and get it to weep. And take that and put it on to burns, cuts, anything like a Band-Aid. And then just fan it and it'll dry. My granddaddy would even shave the outer bark off, cut off the inner bark, and stick it on like a Band-Aid. And it will actually hold. It dries well. It does pretty good. And it has antibacterial and not really an antiseptic, but it doesn't burn, at least in my cases, to me. When I put it on a wound, it doesn't instantly burn like some other things. I know like red oak, if you take red oak and you make a tea out of it, it's great for skin problems, but it burns because it's a drawing. The body reacts to it. And so, but the pine sap does not. It seems to act like honey and kind of seal it up. And so it's something you can do out in the field to buy you time to get home, you know. Sportsman 83, bug tonic will keep wild women away. It will definitely, they ain't wanting to kiss you, I'll put it that way. Garrett, a good smoky fire. Remember I talked about how the mosquitoes are attracted to your breath. When it gets close to sundown, there's a magic hour toward twilight, and you'll know when it is. Because it's like the volume of mosquitoes has been here and suddenly it just goes off the charts. That's when I want a real smoky fire, and I want to be sitting where the smoke is going dead away from me so that my breath is hidden in that smoke. I want to stand in that smoke and get smoked up. And then I want to sit so that my breath is being carried into that smoke to attract less mosquitoes to me. Because again, they're going to smell your breath and they swim up it like a shark following a blood trail. But if I put it through the middle of that smoke, I might cut down on those. I've seen a lot of indications that mosquitoes are not sight hunters. You know, they'll fly right by you if they don't smell you, but they got to smell that scent and they track that scent. That pheromone-like odor is what they track back to us. Dennis U Daddy, one scammer tried to get some firearms sales federal ID number for me last week. Yeah, they're trying to set you up big time. I was at Walmart and was selling guns, of course. And there was one night I was doing something else. In the kiosk where we fill out, it suddenly came up on its own and went to filling out a 4473 by itself, where someone's typing it in. Well, I thought, what is some sort of training exercise or something? And I went and got out of that screen, you know, went back, and it brought it back up. And you could tell somebody was fighting me, trying to do it. And I opened the case, turned off the computer, and then reported it. And there was somebody trying to hack in to do that. You know, well, what good would it do them? Just because you got a 4473, even though you somehow hacked your way in and got a number and everything else, we haven't physically done it. So when you come in and say, you got my gun, we got to physically have that paper. And it wasn't printed and it wasn't filed, and you can't do that remotely. So whoever hacked in didn't think this through. Still couldn't get the gun, dude. But I reported it, and they got an investigation trying to track down who was trying to hack in and do it. K-Town, what's your favorite drink in the bush? Hot, cold booze, if you fly that way. I enjoy 18-year-old scotch for just a wee dram, just to sip on by the fire. Good stuff. I mean, if you're going to drink good stuff. Why drink the cheap stuff? You know, I'm way past the age wanting to get drunk. I'm drinking for enjoyment, for the taste of it. So really good scotch. I'll carry just a little flask for just a little sip because of old body aches and stuff. It helps me go to sleep, you know. As far as a favorite, if I didn't have nothing else, what would I do out there? Pine tea. I make pine tea before I make any of the others. Before I'll drink straight water, I'll make pine tea. Because plain water, at least where the water that I'm at, doesn't taste that great. And I'd far rather do that of any kind of flavoring of whatever to do it. But I don't drink coffee a lot. I will drink hot chocolate and tea, and I will drink a coffee once in a while, but it's just not a thing I got to have. Justin, Mexican hot chocolate's really good. Dennis, you daddy, coffee all day, all year. That's the way my dad was. It'd be 110 degrees outside, and he's on his third pot. Sweat boiling out of him. He didn't care. He was a truck driver. He could swallow coffee and blow steam out his nose. His throat must have been just saddle leather from all them years of chug-a-lugging boiling hot coffee. But 112, hello to rainy Northwest Georgia. It hadn't started raining down here. Y'all are on the leading edge. It's kind of dragging across. We'll probably get the rain about 2 or 3 in the morning. Dennis, yeah, took a bottle of wine deer hunting once. I have known more than one person get drunk and fall out of a deer stand. And you're here to hunt? So why are you getting drunk? Because you're bored? Then take up something more exciting to hunt. Get a spear if you want some real excitement. Go hog hunting with a spear. You want real excitement. You might want to drink before you do that, though. John B., I've been looking around for a used single shot 12 gauge. Any suggestions for stuff to watch for? Let me know what to avoid. The H&Rs are rock solid for the most part. Okay. That Russian shotgun that came in that you pull the trigger guard back was a decent shotgun. I didn't like the way the trigger guard was, but as far as fit, function, and it folds in half just about, yeah, that was a decent shotgun for the field. I don't know if they're around anymore. They popped into the country for a while. The H&R shotguns are my number one choice. Now, having said that, I've got old antique ones and etc. They're just about bulletproof. So the time to look is usually around May. Start looking at the pawn shops, because the kid that started out with that single shot, now it's after hunting season. Now they're going to graduate him up to something else. And that's when those guns go to the pawn shop, because he's hunting a pump. And so you kind of like see a wave of single shots show up in the gun shop. And then by the end of summer, those disappear, because now we're getting the kid's first gun to go and we're going dove hunting. So he needs his first shotgun. And that's when those get bought. So you see them show up May usually, and then they disappear by July. So that's about the time to really look for single shots, at least in my opinion down here. Anything goes. Don't listen to Blackie mix cheap whiskey and root beer. It worked for Daddy Roosevelt. You can drink the cheap stuff if you want. Go right ahead. I did for many, many years. I'm here to tell you. I drank stuff that people would say, I gave some to a buddy of mine one time, and I said, well, what you think? He said, well, it was just right. Any better, and you wouldn't have given it to me. Any worse, and I couldn't have swallowed it. So it was just right. Yeah, I believe it. I prefer moonshine the same as you, and how do you feel about it? Moonshine is what I was raised on. My family did shine, so I learned with shine. Pam, your typo, that explains a lot. We get with Hope, and she'll tell you the trick she uses. It really helps her because she just draws them. You got to do something to make it where they're not going to be attracted to you. Fernando, how do you make pine tea? At the end of the limb where you've got the needles, you've got the long mature needles, and then you'll have a bud there. Then there's short needles. Okay. Those early short needles is what you want. And I'll gather like just a palm full of them. I'll bring a canteen cup of water up to where it just starts to boil, and then I take it off the fire. You do not put it in a boil, so it's just at temperature. I take it off, let it sit there a minute or two, and then I add in the pine needles, give it a little stir, and let it steep for about 10 minutes. After that, you can pour off the liquid into another container, or you can simply drink, and the pine needles will sink to the bottom, and when you get down low, just dash it out. Then add some sugar to or whatever. Excuse me, I'm just burping all over the place tonight. And it gives it a flavor. It's not a disagreeable flavor, but it is a flavor, and I kind of like it. Now, the long pine needle and the short pine needle, usually you want white pine. So when you look at it, there's a group of 5. Red pines are a little more bitter. Red pines have 3 leaves, 3 of those little round leaves in a group, and white pines all have 5. So 5 letters: R-E-D, white, W-H-I-T-E. See, that's how you tell them apart. Go with the white ones. Correct. H&R was bought out by a Freedom Group and put out of business. And they do import one gun, and it's a Chinese copy of an 870, and it's actually Remington owns H&R, and they're importing it. But they made a couple of million of them, so if you look around the pawn shops, you'll just about guarantee find them around May or something. Gordon, I have a single shot 12 gauge made in Brazil by CCI. The breakdown lever is in front of the trigger guard. Have you seen one? Yes, I have. I know what you're talking about. They work fairly well. John Hamilton, what do you think of the AK bayonets for survival, as in the wire cutter AK bayonets and stuff like that? As bayonets go, they're a very rugged, reliable bayonet, and really have more field utility than like our M16 bayonet or M1 carbine bayonet, etc. I think it's a better choice if you're going to carry a bayonet. Okay. Having said that, I think most of bushcraft knives are far superior field knives. But for people that's going to carry one for whatever reason, it's a better choice. It really is. I remember when those first hit the market back in the 80s, and they showed demonstrations where they were things locked together and you could cut wire with it, and every redneck into that stuff had to have one. We didn't have AKs, we had AK bayonets. And I know a lot of people that sharpen them up and play with them, made fairly decent knives out of them. It'll kill. Hey, welcome. Do you have to put linseed oil on leather strops? No. Leather strops, usually you put jeweler's rouge on, and that gives it that little grit. When you first get the leather, it's the texture of the leather's doing the work. Over time, that'll get polished and show you come back with jeweler's rouge. If you look where people sell the stuff for Dremel tools, there'll be a little container about that big that they sell of jeweler's rouge, and you can rub it onto your strop. And I know that Smoky Mountain Knife Works carries those. And sometimes it's called strop dressing, and will give it a little bit more of a grit, so it polishes better. Fernando, good. Take your time. Like I said, don't overdo it. Bring the water up to a boil, and second it boils, take it off. Let it cool for a minute or two so there's no bubbles, then add it. If you boil it, it turns bitter tasting. If you just add a little bit in there, and you figure out how much you like, how strong you like it to have any taste at all, or just a mild taste, or whatever, it's how many needles you put in. And so you'll figure out what your little balance point is. Cool. Yeah, Benton Henry does make single barrel shotguns now, brand new. They're about 170, 180. Last time I was selling them, 2 years ago. But like I said, they made millions of them. And most time when somebody says, I've got a 100-year-old shotgun, it's probably a single shot. Edgar. Oh, yeah. Putting ginger into it. We used to make all kinds of drinks. There was apple pie, which you could not taste the alcohol in it, and it had Bacardi in it. And then there was full moon apple pie that used white lightning in it, and you still couldn't taste the alcohol. And then there was Texas Twister that we put Red Hots, the candy, into it, and it had a cinnamon spice. There's a bunch of things we made back in the day to carry and take out for parties and stuff like that, and camping out by the fire, that type deal. It killed. Blackie, what's your favorite black powder 12 gauge load for squirrels? A 1 1/4 ounce of number 6s and an equal volume of 2F black powder. 4 cards, cut card wads, which is just a cereal box or a Coca-Cola box stamped out. Put in 4 of those. You put the powder in, put the 4 in, put the shot in, and then put 1 card on top. And that's my favorite load for squirrels out to say 20, 25 yards. It does a really good job. Diane, good evening. Eric, I deer hunt with a single shot 4570. 4570 is a very effective deer cartridge. I had a Marlin in the cowboy version in 4570 that I antiqued. I put me a veneer tang sight on the back of it and out to 500 or 600 yards. It would poleaxe a whitetail. But I had time beyond 300 yards. You could pull the trigger and have time to eject before the bullet impacted. But when it did, you'd hear, and all the wind came out of the deer. He didn't get up and he didn't go nowhere. Edgar, absolutely. It's the stuff you can't taste the alcohol in that gets you in big trouble. Garrett, a lot of guys they dissolve peppermint into white lightning for a winter cough syrup and stuff like that. And it does a good job, especially when you had a sore throat and it's bacterial. They gargle with it. They take a big swig of it and hold it in their mouth and swish around and gargle with it for a couple of minutes. Don't swallow, just keep gargling. And they'd put peppermint in it or spearmint in it, some sort of hard candy that dissolved in it, give it a flavor. And it seemed to do very effective at cutting it out of the throat and cutting down on colds and stuff like that. Sage, have you ever used what's called a foot wrap, or I know what you're talking about, square that's like the Soviets used instead of socks? It was that looked like a table napkin, and they wrapped it instead of socks. I have done that in living history before, where we would wrap our feet that way to historically put them in a moccasin and stuff and not have socks. It's a technique of figuring out how to wrap your foot. But once you do, it's just as effective as a pair of socks. And what we were doing is a leather moccasin is really a foot covering, not a shoe. And let me qualify that. Those guys back in the historic time period went barefoot everywhere. The bottom of their foot was probably a callus like a horse's hoof. So the only real danger of something giving you trouble was between your toes, a briar or something. So you wore a moccasin, and it constantly wore holes in them. And so it was every night they had to patch them up and stuff. So we would do that, and then we wanted to add a little bit more warmth And so we would take really thin deer skin, or we would take linen or whatever and make the square and wrap around the foot and then put the moccasin on and then put the leg wrap coming over the top of it to hold it in place. And it was effective as any sock. Just it was a pain to learn how to put it on properly and make it not slip and slide. Dan, did they use the 4th model Colt 51 Navy in the Civil War? I believe so. I believe that was right at the end. The 51 was made right up to 72. And you get into a gray zone because a lot of the guns were created. How do you create it? Well, either it's in production, like the 3rd model, and you go to the ordnance board or whatever and say, we're making these improvements or these streamlines to lower the cost or whatever. And then they say, rubber stamp and say, yes. And they get in. On the other hand, whenever it's the war's over, they don't make a lot of innovation. And nobody wanted to really do any more percussions. As soon as the war was over, they slammed the door on all orders. And so any of the guns past that point, either you were politically connected and they kept the order, otherwise they were all canceled. And so, but there were some little tweaks that were done in the late 1860s in the production for the Colts. Colts still trying to be viable, but in 72 they were all obsolete and they quit even manufacturing them. But you could still buy a percussion Colt from Colt up until the 1880s because they had parts. And I remember reading a letter from 1889, I think it was, that someone wanted a fully engraved 51 Navy to have silver backstrap and trigger guard, fully engraved with these initials in the backstrap, and they were presenting it to a retired general who'd been a general in the Civil War, and his personal carry gun had been a 51. They were giving him a 51, even though more modern guns were available. So Colt honored that and had the parts so they could assemble a 51 and still sell it then. So you kind of get in them gray areas of, was it in the war or was it just available but never really got to the field? A lot of that stuff gets gray real quick. K-Town, have you ever spent time in a bivvy? Sadly, yes, I did. About 2 seasons there when I was doing a lot of backpacking, I had a bivvy, a little hoop bivvy I'd get into. Claustrophobic as all get out. And I very quickly got out of that and went to hammocks. It was far more comfortable because a lot of the places we were going to camp in North Alabama, it was just rocky terrain. Finding some place you could lay down. What you saved in bulk with the bivvy, you had to replace with a bigger, more cushy sleeping pad and be not just laying there on a rock with a piece of tissue paper under you, you know. And a hammock saw both of them. I could have a hammock that big and eliminate laying on rock and having to tote such a huge, bulky sleeping pad. So that's the reason I got out of it. Yeah. Dennis, I've been asking for a 45-70 for a long time, maybe this season. Good luck to you. Hope it happens. Bowder, what's a good simple bushcraft bush pot meal I can make for dinner this weekend camping? If you like canned barbecue and rice, simply boil water, put instant rice in there, bring it up. As soon as the rice is done, drain the surplus water out of it, open up the can of canned barbecue and dump it into it and stir it together. The heat of the rice will heat up the barbecue. And then add some spices to it. Maybe a small can of diced tomatoes or whatever. Barbecue and rice. Really good and quick and easy. And it's very filling and a lot of good carbs. Mr. Lopez, hello. John, yeah, the price on a lot of the old single shots now, they're not making them anymore. It's pushing them in the collector's market. They're getting more and more expensive. It was always a $50 gun in the gun shops whenever I was coming up. It was a cheap, started out, poor man's $50 gun. Now they're $150, $200. It's rather ridiculous. Carcano is still, Carcano is a nice rifle. Ammunition is your question. They can be very good rifles. They're very rugged and reliable, very simple. Got a bad rep, but it wasn't well deserved. It really wasn't. I've known a lot of people that have had them, brought them back as War II surplus, and used it as effective deer hunting rifles and just woods guns. And they served well. They were very simple but dependable guns. Worm Wrangler, yeah, the leg wrap, the puntees like World War One. We used to use strips of wool blanket and spiral around our legs in winter, and then tuck the end into the, or you take the end of it, you put your foot here. You'd bend this tab up, take this and wrap around and go up your leg, and that would anchor it under your heel into your arch. Then you'd pull your boot or sock on, and you'd go up your leg, and then up there at the top, when you were around the last time, you'd pin it or roll it under so it stayed tight on your leg. And they did pretty well. Have you heard of using wool wraps on your kidneys? That was very popular in the British. They had this wide belt. There's like 4 layers of blanket wool and 2 tabs, 2 ties. So you would pull it up like think of like a fanny pack against your kidneys, and then pull it around to the front and tie it to hold it in place to help heat the kidneys. If you heat the kidneys, you heat the blood, you heat the body. And so it was something that was done for a very long time. Are the gray box Colt 4-inch barrel 36 trappers a good cap and ball for camp carrying? If you're talking about the little 36 Navy type, yeah, they're very decent. Very good for shooting things for the pot and etc. I prefer in snake country the 44s because I can put shot loads in them more effectively for anti-snake. But besides that, just as a companion piece, I've carried a 36 many, many times. And I love my little Sheriff from 44, and I used to have a 60 Army. And I want to get me one of the 51 Navies and that little bitty short barrel. I think that'd just be handy as all get out. Justin, have I ever done a cowboy roll? I have in the past, canvas and blankets and stuff like that, but it didn't stick with me. Yeah, I did make one, did play with it, but it just didn't stick with me. Edgar, maybe an underquilt is smarter, but I've done well with a sleeping bag under me, heavy blanket on top, and tarp 25 degrees. Use what works for you. There is no gospel of the hammock. There is what works for you. And I played with all of it. And I've seen things, man, that looks like a great idea, and it just didn't work for me. I've tried getting in the sleeping bag and then getting the hammock. That does not work for me. I throw it like a quilt over me. So for me, underquilts are the way to go. But for somebody that's one of them that lays down, as soon as they get in position, they're gone. They'll be in that position when they get up. Getting layers underneath them or whatever works just fine as long as they're thick enough and strong enough they don't compress flat and lose the heating ability. What about a Mossberg Maverick 88 12 gauge for $250? The Maverick 88 is really a Mossberg 500. They just moved the safety. Parts interchangeability. Yeah, decent guns. Chad Dolan, hello from Montana. Ever feed the little birds? Yeah, I have. Quite a bit. In fact, I keep bird feeders. Dennis, yeah, shotguns offer the greatest amount of ammo variety. True, you can hunt anything with a shotgun. The only limitation is range. It's a short range item. Very effective, and just by what you load into it is what you're hunting. You can go from super light little bobwhite white quail to moose just by a click, change, and you're there. And it's one of the most effective things there are for survival and for an outdoor gun. Yeah, way to go. Thank you. Carl, I've been real happy with my Condor bush slower I bought years ago. I've bought a few other knives ever since, even more expensive models. I seldom use them though. You'll find the one that works. I carried a bush slower for quite a while before I got my WC knives. I still have it. It's right up here in my collection. And I still pull it down from time to time and use it. It fits my hand. It does a good job. Yes, there's voodoo steels that are better and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it does the job. And at the same time, it doesn't break the bank. And so go for it. That's, there's no shame in it. Use it. Blackie, what's your opinion of the Swedish M39 rucksack? I had one that was the green waterproof version that was my canoe bag for a long time. I also had the salt and pepper versions of it that was a heavy canvas that were really a good bag. And somewhere buried over in one of my gear bags is a 1927 marked Swedish bag that I got to dig out one day and fix the strap. One of the straps finally gave up the ghost after nearly a century. So they're very durable, rugged bags. So if it fits you, that's the important thing. Does it carry what I need and does it fit me? Go for it. If it don't fit me, find something better. Justin, I'm getting a bird head grip for your Pieta 44. My good friend Micah loves them bird head grips. They're okay. They've just never been my favorite. I think they're great to look at and to handle, but I'm an old guy and I've come up on single actions, and that bird head just don't work with me. I think it looks cool. They shoot well. And like I said, every gun Micah's had, he's had to put a bird head on it. He'd call me up. I've got a Ruger. Can you put the bird head on it? I've ordered a bird head. Can you put bird? I put them on every gun he's got, fitted grips. So they do shoot well, just not my thing. I never thought about turning my back to the fire before. Blackie talked about how much warming your kidneys help so much. It makes a big difference, especially when it's really, really cold. Always put your back to the fire and let it heat your body up. Worm Wrangler, have not tried the kidney wrap, sewn sheepskin into my M65 liners at the kidneys. That'll work well too. You got a break point. You want something to hold the heat against the kidneys in your core, but at the same time, not restrict circulation. And remember, right there in that neck of the woods, you got your sciatic. So if you pull something tight, you might make that sciatic mad. And once that nerve starts firing off, you are in a world of hurt. So it's a break point. It's got to be snug against me and yet not be so snug that it impedes movement or cuts down on circulation. John B. Maverick 88 is a good gun. I have 30-plus-year-old Mossberg 500, been used a lot and still solid as a rock. When they came out with the Maverick 88, what was Maverick about it was a plastic stock. The 500 was a wood stock and a blue finish, and the 88 was to be a baked-on finish, i.e. a powder coat, and a plastic stock to cut down on finish times and reduce the price of the gun. Of course, us old rednecks, when we came into the gun shop, go, I want that gun, meaning the wood and blued, at that price, because damn it, it's the same gun. So they moved the safety from up here on the top to the trigger guard. So you can say, nope, different gun. See, the safety's in a different place. Besides that, all the parts interchange. Bolts drop in, stocks drop in, barrel, etc. It's the 500. It was just meant for that. But they had to move the safety because people were arguing, I want the wood and blued at that price because you're selling it at that price. And that's why they had to do that. They moved the safety. The very first 88s came out did not have the safety. It had it up on the top. And so many gun shops got grief over that. People wanting the nice gun, higher finish for the same price. That's the reason Mossberg moved the safety on it. K-Town, I heard that the bush lawyers have a lower carbon content than other expensive knives. Yeah, it's like a 1075 or 1085. Perfectly adequate. It's very close to '01 tool steel. It works well in the field. It's slow to rust. It will rust, but it's slow to rust. It's easy to sharpen. It's very durable. What Dave didn't like was he wanted to hit it with a rock and throw sparks off of it. And it wouldn't do that because it was a lower carbon content. Well, yes, I will give to him that hitting sparks off of it is a survival thing. But at the same time, it also makes the knife more brittle. And I'm looking for a tool. And so that 1075 or whatever is more likely to bend than break. And if I screw up and do something wrong, I would rather have it where I could straighten it out as opposed to that thing going ting and snapping off and leaving me with a broke knife. And so, especially for people that don't have a lot of experience and they're learning, I recommend the bush lawyers. I'd say start out with a Mora. Absolutely. It will teach you how to use a knife because it's for the price, a very good knife. Then get you a bush lawyer. Once you think you've graduated beyond that, then start looking at the more expensive stuff because now you got the skills. If you don't have the skill, it's kind of a waste. It really is. You're going through a learning curve. And I would much rather you mess up a $25 knife than a $250 knife. That's just what it would break my heart to do it to myself. And it breaks my heart when I see a student or somebody that does it just because they didn't know, So I always tell them it's a good knife. Just get what you pay for, but use it. Rat tail tangs suck, but I've never broke one. As long as you're using it as a knife, you won't. If you're trying to use it as a fro or a pry bar, you will. And it's kind of like operator error rather than knife error. That knife wasn't designed to do that. I can absolutely take a lawnmower blade and make you a knife. You can baton it with a 2-pound sledgehammer. Go right ahead, baby. It'll stick from now to doomsday. But it's a brick and it sucks as a carving knife. It's one of those things. It's what's the job? Use the knife for the job. A knife's not a pry bar. Feel good. I use a cheap rubber shop mat as a pad and when you use it. Yeah, they work well for that. They really do. Any kind of dense, closed rubber foam works really, really well. Exercise mats are really good. They're soft because, she's supposed to be down doing aerobics and stuff on her elbows and stuff. And so therefore it's got to be soft and it makes a really good sleeping pad, very warm. Force switch. Blackie, I have a 20 gauge with good ammo. Can I use it for bear protection or buy a 12 gauge? If it's going to be up close, 20 is just as good as a 12. It's when you get past 40 or 50 yards. That's when you see a difference. But when you look at what is the weight of the projectile in a 20 gauge, 7/8 of an ounce. What is the weight of the projectile in a 12 gauge? 1 ounce. They're moving the same speed. What's the difference? Less than a quarter of an ounce? And 1/8 of an ounce is the difference. And it's moving the same speed and it's doing just about the same. I've taken big animals with a 20 gauge. But having said that, I own 12 gauges as well. And if we're talking about I'm going to have to take shots at 45 yards or it's something big and bad, like we're going big hog hunting, yeah, I'm going to bring cannons. Because I've had a 500 or 600 pounder break cover at about 30 yards running at me with everything they had in their universe. And I pumped 10 rounds out of a tactical 870 Remington 12 gauge, alternating slug and buck, 3-inch shells. And I ran it all the way down. I had extended magazine on that thing. And when I fired my last round, I had to dive over her as she went under me. I hit her every time and she kept coming. She finally piled up and died 20 yards that way. But I'm here to tell you, when I pulled the trigger the first time and she didn't even react, and I saw a solid hit in that shoulder, and she just kept coming. Yeah, something like that, yeah, I want a 12 gauge. But for 99.9% of the rest of it, 20 gauge is perfectly adequate. And that's what I carry is a 20. I feel very confident with a 20. Have I ever had experience with a Model 77 Ruger thumb safety rifle? No, I have not. I have fired M77s, but not specifically the thumb safety ones. Yeah, I agree. Good comments, guys. Good comments. Edgar, the statement I put out to people is this. What I do, the amount I do, I invested in really good $250 WC knives for what I'm doing. And what I point people out is they're fun. You know, if the average person, to me, what I need a phone for is to send a phone call, send a text, and send me a little picture or video. That's it. I don't use it for Google. I don't use it for maps. I don't use it for anything else. So this is a cheap Walmart phone. Those that have the skills that can make that tricorder sing with everything and tell the temperature of your butt sitting in that chair because they can look up how to do it, go ahead. They have $900 phones. I have no use for a $900 phone. But they, in their life, I can see where they would, you know, they want to do that kind of video. They want to do whatever. They're doing Snapchat. They're doing whatever. Yeah, I can see that. But for the 99% of the population, a Mora and a Condor will handle about everybody. It's just if you do a little more and you need a little bit more. I wanted a little bit more, a little better steels, a little different design. And I was getting the design more than anything else. And the steel and everything that's come with it is just outstanding. I'm super, super happy with my WC knives. Having said that, I still have my Moras and I still have my Condors and they still get used. So it's down to a personal opinion. If you're going to say, Blackie, you're about to drop into Greater Canada and you're having to walk back out, I'm going to have my WC knife on me because I know what I can do and what I need. Okay. But at the same time, if you dropped me into a challenge and handed me a Condor bush loader that had been sharpened, I would be perfectly adequate and happy. And with a Mora, perfectly adequate and happy because I know the strengths and weaknesses of that design because I've took the time to learn it. And so therefore I'd be happy using it. It all comes down to what you need. Nikhil, thank you very much. Kershaw makes good knives. They can. I've seen some mixed results, but most part they can be a good knife. K-Town, how do I sharpen my axe? With a file. I was taught how to sharpen one by hand to make my edge about a little over, just under a ½ inch wide. That'd be a fairly steep angle. And so that's how I sharpen my axe is with a file. And I like, if it's a limbing axe, cutting axe, it's a thin, very, very sharp edge. If it's a grubbing edge, it's a more robust edge. Or a splitting axe, more robust edge. Double bit axe, perfect to both worlds, you know. But for the most part, is this going to be used nothing but for cutting off limbs, splitting a little bit of wood or whatever up close, mostly camp duty? It's going to be a fairly sharp axe. It's going to be a grubbing axe that we're cutting out roots and everything else. That axe ain't going to be that sharp. I'm going to put a pretty good edge on it, about like a lawnmower blade sharp, and that's going to be it because if I hit a rock or something, I don't want it to destroy the edge. The sharper, the easier it is to dull. Dennis, walking up on a monster hog definitely would get the blood and bullets moving. No joke. Yes, it will. Where we have my camp out at, we had, like the week after we'd had my camp out, a guy went out to feed his dog one night, like 10 miles away or less. and there was an 850-pound hog standing in his backyard eating the dog food. He just walked to the truck and pulled out a 38 special and walked up while the hog was interested in eating what was in the bucket and shot it because he knew how to kill a hog. And it made the local paper, you know, for one 38 special cartridge, he got 850 pounds of pork. Pretty good job. Thank you very much, Pam. I hear you. Angry Ranger. 45 is a good choice for that. I would very much like to take one of mine. And me and Bear's got a lot of hog on his land, and we've talked about doing a hog hunt and going out and setting up camp on his land and just go around and harvest some hogs because his family's got a processing center down there and everything where we could just drag them back and let them process them for us. And we could get us a couple of hogs in them because there is no limit, and it's year round in Alabama. Carlton, personally, I don't care if someone's knife was $5,000 as long as they like it. I agree. Is it your money? Then you pick what you want. And I'm never going to diss somebody else's knife. Is it what they wanted, what they chose, what they paid for, whatever? It's up to them. It's a personal choice. It really is. Dennis, I agree with you. If you got something that'll bust that skull, that's a preferred hit, especially forward on, bust him, put him down, because so many guys gut shoot them because their heart's in the front, not in the back like a deer, and they want to shoot it like a deer, and all you're doing is gut shooting the hog, and now he's going to run and he's upset. Bust that melon and turn him off. And especially from the side, go for the skull shot at the base. So when he goes down, walk up and put another one into the center of the forehead and finish him off. He won't get up. A big hog, if you don't put it in the right place, and it's not the place you'd think. I grew up, they taught us how to kill hogs with a 22 long rifle in the pen, where to hit him behind the ear. And Elmer Keith talks about in his book, Six Guns, of during the Civil War of a cavalry officer that was escorting a captured Confederate officer back to the rear. And a couple of bluebellies was trying to catch a hog that got out of somebody's farm. They wanted to catch it and kill it for food because they were kind of short on food. And the hog broke cover in front of the two officers. And they went to hollering for him to shoot it. So he just brought the 51 Navy up and hit him right behind the ear and poleaxed him. And then 1-2, another hog jumped out and he shot him behind the ear and poleaxed him too. So you know where to hit one, they drop super easy, but you got to know where to hit. It's not as easy as it looks. You got to know where to hit. And if you hit that spot, you turn them off like a light switch. Yeah, Captain Crunch, they made it where you can shoot them from hot air balloons and everything out there. They're an invasive species, and they're very destructive, them Russian boars. Yep, behind the ear. Oh, yes, sir. Got it. The amount of things I've done with the Buck 110. Still got mine. That someone kindly gave me another one not long ago, and I'm very, very happy with it. I carried a lot of days on my belt. Angry Ranger, that's it. Never been shoot fast, shoot accurate. What was Wyatt Earp said? Take your time in a hurry. But, fast is fine. Accurate is definitive. Jared Oliver, will we get more videos in the stealth series? I've been toying with that. now for quite a bit. It's becoming more people are asking me about it. But the question is how I word it and how I do it, because there are ways that YouTube could frown upon that, saying that you were promoting some sort of less than accepted behavior. So I got to be careful how I word it. But I got a lot more I could share. But the question is, I started my Rumble account just for that, and I haven't posted but one video on it. I've got to get off my butt. And I've got a complete survival shotgun thing that I want to put onto YouTube that I got to put onto that. And I want to do more of the stealth series and put it over there. And then I'll do like a greatly edited short so that y'all can see what's on it and say, if you'd like to see the rest, here's the link to it so people can go over and see it. That way I'm getting around some of the barbed wire, we shall say. Jazz Bladecraft, welcome. Yeah, Anger Ranger. My granddaddy had a Colt single action 5-inch barrel artillery model. And we were coming out of the field doing something early October. And there was me and a cousin of mine, and we're about, I'd say 10 feet apart. And we're roughly 15 yards walking in front of my granddaddy. And as we topped up that little hill, right there was this big 8-point buck that came trotting up out of that bottom and just kind of stopped out there and looked at us. And he's not 25 yards from us. And we froze. Neither one of us had a gun. We froze. Granddaddy pulled that single action army and shot and killed that buck. He shot between us and hit that buck and poleaxed and dropped him, headshotted. That was at least a 35, 40-yard shot for him. But he just dropped him clean as you ever seen. Of course, I got a little upset about this because I get that way when ordnance is going by me at high speed. Ordnance telegraphs get me a little upset. And he said, there was plenty of room. Y'all was way off to the side. I brought it straight down the middle. It wasn't, no. Let's clean this deer, boy. Shut up. We got deer to clean. Get your buck out. Let's clean the deer. Yeah, he could do anything with that gun if he wanted to. Longbow Banjo, good evening. They have quite a few hogs down here, and a lot of the Connecticut National. Geneva State Forest has some. Contact the ranger down there. Look it up online, Geneva State Forest, and it'll give you the contact number to call the ranger house down there. And it's Mr. Driggers. He's the official forester that runs that thing. And tell him you're wanting to hunt hog. Do they have hog problems? Where would? Many times they'll tell you where to go because hog is such an invasive species. They're detrimental. Especially when they go plant food plots and hogs come in and wipe it out in one night. So I'm not saying he will, but you know what I mean. There's a very good chance they'll tell you where to go look to be able to find some. And go do this up there where you're at. Go wherever farmers hang out, the farmers co-op, seed stores, wherever, and they'll have them little bulletin boards. Put up a 3x5 index card that says, do you have a hog problem? Call me, I'll come get it. You'll be amazed how many farmers will call you, telling you to come get a hog because they're so detrimental. John Hamilton, are you familiar with Bradford Anglers, How to Stay Alive in the Woods? Yes, it was a decent book. I believe I have it somewhere in my collection, but it was a decent book. Chad Dolan, building a cabin here. Have you ever built one? I have never built an official cabin. I've assisted in the construction of probably 2 dozen, and I've built a bunch of tar paper hunting cabins and lodges on hunting land before, but I have never from the ground up. The book I would recommend you get that is a very good book to have is called Your Dream Cabin by J. Wayne Fears. Wayne was a forester here in the state of Alabama. that I met. Good guy. And he answers a lot of questions you wouldn't think to know. Like, I want to buy land to put a cabin on. He tells you where to go look to find it in your state. You know, these are the state agencies you contacted. They're free to contact, and they'll tell you land that's available, stuff like that. Then he tells you what who to go see in your county, what agent or whatever that will have the floodplain information, find out if this ever goes underwater. And then there's a meteorological report that is free to you that tells you that this area is normally hotter than usual or colder than usual due to altitude, whatever. 1,000 things you never thought about simply building a cabin. But he's done all the hard work, and he's trying to pass it on, even down to the fact that he put in an outhouse because where he was at had no plumbing. He couldn't put any plumbing, but he could put in an outhouse. So he just got a copy of the same exact outhouse that the state uses, the stainless steel toilet on a concrete slab, blah, blah, blah. It's in all the state parks down here. And they said, well, you can't have an outhouse on public land. He said, excuse me. Then all the state ones are illegal. Are you saying that? Because I copied it exactly. They shut up because they don't want to pay that on themselves. If you convict me, you're convicting yourself. Things like that. J. Wayne Fears, Your Dream Cabin. Look that up. I think it'll answer a lot of your questions. Edgar, we'd have to be pretty hungry to shoot right past my son to get a deer. You didn't know my granddaddy. He was that good a shot, but at the same time, half of the shot was he wanted to see me jump too. Army Ranger, I agree with you. I got my first real single action Army when I was 13. I had a original Colt single action Army in 45 Colt. It had been cavalry issued. That I'd traded off an individual and got it. And I worked on a farm down in North Florida that was actually a cattle ranch and ran horses and stuff. I got to play cowboy one summer, and I had a 94 Winchester, and I had a 45 Long Colt. I thought I was John Wayne, boy. I was my scrawny little butt on an old antique McClellan saddle on the back of that horse. You know, I was riding fence, patching fences, and helped move cattle and horses from field A to field B and all kinds of stuff. And there was a bounty on wild dogs. And rabies had been so bad down there, they'd put a bounty out on them and told everybody you put an orange collar on your dog, because any dog that is seen without an orange collar will be shot on sight. It was that bad. And they were paying $100 a head for dog. Just cut the tail off and bring it in. And we were told, if you see a dog and it ain't got a bright orange collar on it, put a bullet in it. And so I carried that single action Army and got pretty good at propping up on a fence post to score a little money. Carlton, does anyone here have any experience with a Kodiak canvas tent? Thinking about getting one for my son and daughter's camp with me. Afraid I don't. Most of my large canvas tents that I've got experience with were Panther Primitives or Tent Smiths. And that's back from doing living history. Gordon Dixon, do you own any conversion cylinders for your black powder revolvers? If not, why? I have wanted to get one in 45 Colt to go into my 58 Remington Sheriff, but I have an 1871 45 Colt, which is, as you know, an 1860 Army and factory 45 Colt conversion that I shoot. But I have not got around to doing that. I would like to get one for the Remington. I enjoy shooting my percussions so much, and I've got 45 Colt and 4440 and other guns that I just haven't got around to doing it. It's not such a novelty to me. If I want to shoot 45 Colt, out of the handgun, I'll pull that 71, which is an 1860 basically from the factory. And if I want to shoot 4440, I have a single action Army in it, a little short 4 3/4 inch that I'll shoot it in. And so that's just the way it's been thus far. I haven't got around to it. I've been thinking about it, but just haven't got around to it. Justin, Blackie, can I use the Lee hand loader for 35738 for rifle, or will I need a different die set? You can use the same exact set. Same thing. Miles away. Hi, Blackie, UK here. Currently working my way through your Down and Dirty playlist. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Glad to do it. Hope you enjoy it. Feel free to comment, ask any questions. I'll do my best to get back with you. Jared, with the conversion cylinders, don't you have to use certain ammo? Any factory produced ammo in that caliber, you can just drop right in. So let's say the factory made 45 Colt, which is really like a half power load because they're afraid you got an antique. You can buy off the shelf and drop into it. What they don't want you to do is hot hand load for it, because it couldn't take that kind of pressure, because the stock 357, or excuse me, the stock 38 special, any of the conversion cylinders will handle it right off the shelf. But if you got a hot hand load, which is basically a 357 load in a 38 case, it's too hot for it. And so they say limit it to 850 feet per second, because that's a off the shelf middle ground load for it. And they're just doing it for legally to kind of cover their, rear assets before you pick up and drop a dirty, hairy load into it and grenade the gun. And so that's why they're doing that. Sackett, picked up an H&R 999 Sportsman that had hardly been shot. My girls had a blast shooting it and hearing tales of my grandfathers. Ran the numbers, and it's about 1935. I always wanted a 999. They had the short and the longer barrel. I wanted it was a longer barrel. I thought that was so cool. I've just never been able to find one at a price when I had money to do it. But they were very good guns. Accurate. I mean, for the make and model, very accurate. K-Town, are coyotes that dangerous? Maybe to children and pets. I've only a casual to adult at Cape Brennan. 9 times out of 10, you are correct. They're not going to mess with them. But like down here in my neck of the woods, we got pine wolves. A coyote is about 35 pounds. Pine wolves are up to 80. And it's a coy dog. It's a pine wolf. It's a coyote mixed with a domestic dog, or mixed with a red wolf that's bred up and made a bigger animal. And they don't have fear of man. And 2 years ago, me and a friend were going somewhere, and I was doing a little teaching with them. And we got out of the truck and we started walking down the dirt road going down the river. We was about halfway down when rolling out of the bank up that thing was 3 dogs that they were close to 100 pounds each. It looked like a half-grown wolf, that big. And I managed to spook them off just by making a big racket. But they locked eyes, and they obviously were not scared of us. And I click, click, hey, boys. They suddenly took off. But no, most times, you're absolutely right. They're not going to give you any trouble. Coyotes might be a danger for kids. They're 35, 40 pounds. But the big ones down here ain't coyotes. And so they have no fear of man. So you've got to have something that, if it comes to it, you can put a hole in one. Mitch, do you have any more campfire stories like you told about the turkey when you fell in that hole? I mean, it didn't go well. Yeah, I've got several of those. The time I fell in a sinkhole and had to dig myself out, that was a night. I've had noises and growls out there. There's a time it was been thunderstorming all evening, and then I'm in a hammock and the tarp kind of low. I'm up in the air, but the tarp didn't go that far that way. It's covering me, but not by much. And in the lightning flash, I saw something. The next time lightning flash, I had a big alligator coming through. He was cutting loose from that pond, coming down the dirt road, going to that pond. And I happened to be in the road. So I've got several stories of things that went bump in the night and showed up, and something went to sniffing my tent, things like that. And noises you couldn't explain. You wake up and you heard something, but what was it? Yeah. Gordon, I've got the 51 Navy. I thought about getting the 38 long Colt conversion. Would you get the 2-piece or the gated? I would go, if you like it as a percussion gun, get the 2-piece. If you want to convert it over to being a converted gun, go ahead and get the loading gate. But I would get the 2-piece. That way I didn't have to modify nearly as much. I know you're talking about the one that's got loading gate on the ring, but at the same time, I would get the 2-piece cylinder. It's just tick, tick, slide it on. You're done. Fernando, I still can't find number 10 caps in Natchez, Midway Academy, or any other options out there. Mid-South Shooter Supply. Just look it up. Sometimes I've got lucky before and got some out of them. Jared, in your older videos, you always introduced as Shaman's Forge. Was that your old channel name? Yes, it was. When I first started out, it was Shaman's Forge Bushcraft. And then over time, everybody just kept saying Blackie. And that's my name anyway. And it just made it easier for people to search. And so I just went to saying hi, going by Blackie. When I got in 2008, that was very common. Everybody had a channel name, and you had an intro, musical intro and everything else. And that's kind of out of fashion now, but that's how it started out. Edgar, Pine Wolves. It's just a nickname we got down here for coy dogs. It's a hybrid mix of a wolf and a coyote or a domestic dog. They're not a coyote. They're a lot bigger, and they hunt big game like a wolf. So they'll get a pack of them and try to take down a half-grown calf or even a cow. Whereas coyotes are small game hunters. They want to hunt rabbits and stuff like that, and they'll go after sheep or goats or small stuff like that. They want a small calf they'd go after, but a half-grown cow, no, they would never go after that. But pine wolves will. That's the reason you have to have mules in with your livestock down here now, because they'll attack and act like a guard dog and go after them. Whereas when I was young, you didn't have to have anything like that. Just people turn loose their little baby goats or whatever, they'd be fine. Once in a blue moon, somebody's coon dog might kill one, and you'd show up with a dead thing saying, "You owe me a calf." But nowadays, if you don't have some sort of coyote medicine in there, like a big pack of dogs or a big mule or something, you're going to lose livestock almost every night. Good night, K-Town. Always 23 was filmed today. We finally got around to do it. We got rained out the other day. Me and Bear got to do it today, and we were working on cast iron. We took 2 pieces of cast iron cookware that were way out there and brought them back. Built fire in them and burned them out, and then got them up, etc., and sat and talked about other things. So we filmed it today, and it will post this Sunday. Edgar, I would empty my clip into that alligator. Those things are nightmare fuel. The world record alligator came from my state of Alabama, 19 feet long, 1 ton. He was right at 4 foot broad at his front shoulders. Back hip. Excuse me, back hip, he was almost 4 foot across. Yeah, we have dinosaurs in Alabama. Cat, what is the scariest thing that happened to you during a night? Woo. If you're talking about animals or something like that, it'd be the alligator showing up. I've had a stampede of cattle run by me at high speed before too. That was a real pucker factor to it. I've had a tornado roll over the top of us in the middle of the night, and trees start falling all the way around us, me and 2 of the guys. And when we started hearing the timber snapping, we came out of our tents, and it was so dark, and it was just in the lightning flashes you could get an idea. Wind and everything, debris, and it was passing very close to us, and we're just hearing constant trees falling. And you're in darkness hearing trees slam the ground around you where you feel the ground jump. That was a pretty rough night. Things like that, if you stay out there long enough, you're going to have some stories. And you got to laugh. There are times you just got to throw your head back and laugh because it gets so scary, so whatever, and you'll get so nervous that you just got to get a sense of humor about it and laugh. I mean, that's the way you get through it. Dennis, you daddy, are these weather patterns a seasonal slip? A lot of animals going to be relocating. True. We've got an unusually early spring down here. And so a lot of animals are showing up early. We normally don't get robins until the very first week or second week of March. They showed up the first week of February. We got other things popping out left and right. I had a guy post on Facebook 2 days ago of a 5 foot diamondback that he's down in the woods about 3 miles from my house, and went down there to get some firewood that he'd stored on his land under a tarp. And he pulled the tarp back and had loaded up and turned around and nearly stepped on it. It did not come out of the wood pile. It was cutting through, so it was out crawling in February. Lots of stuff like that's going on right now. So just got to roll with it. That's all we can do. Frederick Rourke, don't drink any water from Ohio. Absolutely right now. Oh, but it's totally safe. Yeah. Sounded like they wanted to open up a railroad line. Didn't care what the conditions were. Carlton, hey, Blackie, how about hearing a bobcat scream when camping? Yes. Me and 4 friends were at Fort Toulouse doing a living history event, and we had just walked back up to camp. We've been on way over yonder with another group. We walked back up to camp, got into our tents. I swear it had only been 10 minutes since the last good night, and that bobcat screamed no more than 15 yards from us. Just wow! Everybody's butt came that high off the blankets. It will really pucker you up all at once when that happens. And I've been in deep swamps on a boat pulling trot lines in real swamp, guys. I mean, where you kind of do the line like that, way out yonder to make sure a gator ain't going to come up. You don't just lean over and pull up, or you're going to pull a gator straight to you, because he'll be sitting there on bottom where the turtle got on it, and he's crunched up the turtle, and he's just sitting there holding the line between his teeth. And had a big bobcat scream in that darkness. And here you are out in the middle of water and snakes and gators and everything else, sitting in an aluminum john boat with a Coleman lantern. Whew. Yeah. That's when you start singing Battle Hymn of the Republic or Dixie or whatever you feel like. Spin the cylinder, hello, boys, and start singing because, yeah, it will wake you up. My wife tells a story of one of the very first campouts I took her on down there on the river. And we were in the tent, and that panther, which was probably a mountain lion, screamed in the dead silence down there at about 1 o'clock in the morning and just scared the bejesus out of her. And she was holding my wrist at the time. And when she clamped down, she left finger marks. That's how much it spooked that little lady. She was all upset. Well, forget about sleeping the rest of the night. It was, let's sit up by the fire and talk. Build up the fire. Big fire. Let's see it on Mars. Yeah. Chuck Miller. Hello, sir. We got about 10 minutes to go. We're going to call it quits for the night. As I said at the beginning, excuse me, it's been a real trying week. My wife got sick, pretty bad sick, running fever. And so it started last Thursday. And she went to work Friday, and then it got worse over the weekend. So Monday, we took her to the doctor. And we said, is it COVID? Is it strep? Is it flu? What is it? She's running a fever, sinuses running, etc. And they ran the test and came back and said, it's not flu, it's not COVID, it's not strep. It's some virus than that. So she's been sick and at home all week. So I've been taking care of her. Then we had all this remodeling planned. And so it was completely tear everything out of the cabinets in the kitchen and rework them. Completely tear out this or that. I tore out our bathroom, tore everything out of the counters, complete redo everything, new this, new that. And then on Sunday, I tore the kitchen sink out of the cabinet and started with all new pipes, all new water connectors, new faucet, all of the above, got all that going. And then Monday, when I was going to go shoot a video, then the guy that was going to work on my roof called up, and he said that, hey, I can be over in an hour or two if you're ready. Well, I had to run around like the flight of the bumblebee to run around and get all the remaining supplies I had to have. And so we spent Monday fixing the roof, and it has just been a one thing after another. So and then Wednesday, all my bags showed up, and I had to get them out. So I've been a little distant, guys, and I'm sorry if I hadn't been answering questions like I normally did. But with her sick and etc. and all of this stuff, Blackie's been kind of busy the last few days. And so just bear with me, guys. I'll get caught back up, I promise. Well, guys, I greatly appreciate the comments and the conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for it. And I will be back on next week on Thursday night. Please have any questions or ideas you want. And I will be answering videos, comments on my videos tonight and every night through the weekend, trying to get caught back up. So if you post a question, I ain't said nothing, give me a little time, I'll catch it up. It's just, I got so many videos. A lot of times whenever I'm out for a day or two, I come back and I got 1,200 comments to go through, and it takes a little time. Plus cooking dinner for her because she's sick and etc. And I'm getting where I'm stuffy. So we'll see. You know, she who must be obeyed has managed to get one of them commandos through the defense grid and get me sick too. We shall see. But Bear has got a video we shot today on a poncho mod that will be posted on his YouTube channel first of the week, I believe, probably Monday. I have an always that will be posted this Sunday. Saturday, I have a how-to working on a percussion revolver video about loose arbors and things you can do to kind of tighten up the action a little bit, painting the wedge and etc. And then tomorrow, I've got a video coming up where I'm doing a discussion about ways to carry pre-measured components to the field. Predominantly, I'm focusing on the silver wolves for us old guys to make camp life a little easier and less cluttered. But that'll be coming up tomorrow. And then there's a lot more stuff in the pipeline, etc. And we're a little over 4 weeks out from the gathering. So I hope to see as many people there as possible. Well, till next time, guys, thank you very much for all the support. And I hope y'all have a wonderful night and a great weekend. Safe journeys, everybody.